Pain is one of the most universal experiences of human life, something no person can avoid or escape. It comes in many forms: the sharp sting of physical injury, the ache of loss, the burden of failure, the loneliness of rejection, and the silent weight of unfulfilled dreams. While people naturally try to run from pain, shield themselves from discomfort, or seek quick relief from suffering, the truth is that pain has a profound role in shaping who we are. It is often through struggle, hardship, and adversity that we grow into stronger, more resilient, and more compassionate individuals. The phrase "pain builds character" captures this truth with remarkable simplicity. It suggests that, rather than being purely destructive, pain is constructive, a force that molds personality, deepens understanding, and forges strength that cannot be built in times of comfort. The first way pain builds character is by teaching resilience. When life runs smoothly, people rarely question their abilities or their strength. It is only when hardship strikes that resilience is tested. Consider a person who has faced repeated setbacks in their career or education. At first, the pain of failure can feel crushing, draining confidence and raising doubts about one's worth. But those who choose to keep going, to stand up after each fall, develop a resilience that becomes unshakable. Pain forces them to adapt, to rethink strategies, to try again with greater determination. Over time, this resilience turns into a core part of their character. Such people develop a mental toughness that cannot be easily broken, and this strength equips them not only to endure future difficulties, but also to thrive in the face of them. Without experiencing pain, resilience remains only a theoretical idea. It is suffering that transforms it into a lived reality. Beyond resilience, pain also fosters empathy and compassion. A person who has never experienced loss may struggle to understand the sorrow of grief. A person who has never battled loneliness may fail to grasp the depth of another's isolation. But when someone undergoes pain themselves, they gain a new perspective on the suffering of others. The tears they shed in private moments, the silent battles they endure, the wounds that time takes to heal. These experiences open their heart to those who walk a similar path. That is why some of the kindest and most compassionate individuals are those who have known the greatest suffering. Their pain becomes a bridge connecting them to others. Instead of judging, they understand. Instead of dismissing, they listen. Instead of turning away, they lean in with empathy. Pain, therefore, does not merely build strength within individuals. It also refines their humanity, teaching them to be more considerate, patient, and loving. Another way pain builds character is by shaping humility. Success often brings with it a temptation toward pride, the belief that achievements are solely the result of one's own efforts and brilliance. Pain interrupts this illusion. When hardships come, they remind us that life is not always in our control. Even the strongest, most intelligent, or most talented individuals cannot escape illness, loss, or misfortune. These experiences humble us, reminding us of our vulnerability and our shared human fragility. Humility shaped by pain allows people to approach life with greater gratitude and less arrogance. They learn to appreciate small victories, to value relationships over possessions, and to respect the struggles of others. In this way, pain grounds people, preventing them from being consumed by ego or entitlement. Pain also plays a powerful role in clarifying priorities. In the rush of daily life, people often pursue goals that are superficial, chasing wealth, status, or external validation. But when pain enters, especially in the form of loss or failure, it strips away the unnecessary and forces people to reconsider what truly matters. A person recovering from illness may realize that health is more valuable than riches. Someone grieving a loved one may come to understand that relationships are more precious than accomplishments. This reordering of values builds depth of character, steering people away from shallow pursuits and toward more meaningful living. Pain thus acts as a harsh but effective teacher, aligning our actions with deeper truths about life and purpose. Moreover, pain builds patience and endurance. In a culture that prizes instant gratification, many expect immediate results, quick fixes, and effortless rewards. Yet real growth rarely happens quickly. Enduring pain teaches that valuable things take time and that some wounds heal only slowly. This lesson in patience becomes an integral part of character. A student who struggles through years of difficult study, an athlete who trains relentlessly through exhaustion and injury, a parent who sacrifices daily for their child, all of them embody endurance born from pain. Such patience not only aids in personal achievement, but also becomes a guiding virtue in relationships and community life. People who have endured suffering often approach challenges calmly, refusing to give up when faced with obstacles. Their patience, shaped by pain, becomes a quiet strength admired by others. It is also important to recognize that pain fosters self-discovery. In comfortable times, individuals may not deeply examine themselves or their motivations, but in hardship, people are pushed to confront their fears, weaknesses, and limitations. Pain asks questions: how much can you bear? What truly drives you? What values do you stand for when everything else is stripped away? In the process of answering these questions, individuals discover aspects of themselves they never knew existed. They may uncover courage hidden beneath fear, creativity born from struggle, or perseverance they never believed possible. Pain, therefore, reveals layers of the human spirit that remain dormant without challenge. In this way, it does not merely build character, it uncovers it. Yet, while pain can build character, it is not the pain itself that transforms people, but rather their response to it. Pain can embitter some individuals, making them cynical, angry, or withdrawn. But when pain is met with courage, reflection, and determination, it becomes transformative. It is like fire, destructive when uncontrolled, but purifying and strengthening when harnessed wisely. This distinction is crucial because it shows that character is not shaped simply by suffering, but by the way one chooses to endure and grow through it. Examples from history and everyday life illustrate this truth vividly. Figures like Nelson Mandela, who endured decades of imprisonment yet emerged as a symbol of reconciliation and justice, show how pain can refine greatness. Survivors of wars, natural disasters, and personal tragedies often become the most inspiring voices for peace, resilience, and hope. Even in ordinary life, countless individuals quietly embody strength shaped by suffering: the single mother who works tirelessly for her children, the person who battles illness with dignity, the worker who overcomes financial struggle without losing kindness. Their characters shine not despite their pain, but because of it. In the end, pain is not something anyone seeks willingly, but it is something everyone must face. It strips away illusions, strengthens resilience, fosters empathy, cultivates humility, clarifies values, builds patience, and reveals hidden strengths. Each scar, whether physical or emotional, carries within it a story of endurance and growth. The truth behind the saying "pain builds character" is that the very struggles people wish to avoid often become the foundation of their noblest qualities. Comfort may bring temporary ease, but it is pain that leaves lasting imprints on the soul. By learning to embrace hardship not as an enemy but as a teacher, individuals can transform suffering into a source of wisdom and strength. In this way, pain becomes not the end of life's story, but the very force that gives it depth, meaning, and unshakable character. Every human being aspires in some way towards success, recognition, or fulfillment, yet not everyone reaches the heights they dream of. The difference between those who remain ordinary and those who rise to greatness often lies in a single, defining quality: sacrifice. Sacrifice is the deliberate decision to give up comfort, leisure, safety, or even personal desires for the sake of a greater goal. It is the willingness to endure hardship, to let go of immediate pleasures, and to walk a path of discipline and endurance while others choose the easier route. Greatness does not come freely or by accident. It is purchased through the price of sacrifice. History, human experience, and personal reflection all testify that those who achieve extraordinary things are those who dare to pay this price. while the ordinary remain where they are because they avoid it. Sacrifice is the invisible dividing line between mediocrity and excellence. Most people want success, but few are willing to endure the sacrifices necessary to achieve it. A student may dream of becoming a scholar, yet without the sacrifice of long nights of study, missed social gatherings, and constant practice, the dream remains unrealized. An athlete may envision standing on the podium, but only those willing to sacrifice countless hours of training, strict diets, and social pleasures ever reach such heights. In the arts, in science, in leadership, and even in personal life, the same pattern repeats. Greatness is never a gift handed freely. It is earned through consistent sacrifice. The ordinary want the reward without the struggle, but the great accept the struggle as the true path to reward. One of the clearest illustrations of sacrifice, separating the ordinary from the great, is found in the lives of historical figures. Consider Mahatma Gandhi, who sacrificed not only personal comfort, but also safety and freedom for the cause of India's independence. He gave up a promising career as a lawyer, chose to live a life of simplicity, and endured prison sentences. These sacrifices set him apart from millions of others who also desired freedom, but were unwilling or unable to pay such a personal cost. His greatness was not just in his vision, but in his willingness to give up everything for it. Similarly, Martin Luther King Jr. could have lived a quiet life, but his sacrifices accepting threats, arrests, and ultimately death turned him into a symbol of justice and equality. Their greatness was not accidental, it was built on sacrifice. Even outside politics and social movements, the pattern holds true. Scientists like Marie Curie, who sacrificed health and safety through relentless work with radioactive materials, or Thomas Edison, who sacrificed rest to conduct thousands of experiments, show that groundbreaking discoveries demand a cost. They did not stop at ordinary effort, but sacrificed their time, comfort, and even well-being to give something new to humanity. Their names are remembered precisely because they chose a path of sacrifice when others might have given up. Sacrifice also plays a role in everyday, less celebrated lives. A mother who sacrifices her own dreams to ensure her children receive an education, or a soldier who sacrifices personal safety for the defense of his nation, may not always become world-famous, but embody greatness in a moral sense. Their sacrifices elevate them above ordinary selfishness into the realm of selflessness, which is itself a mark of greatness. In this way, sacrifice does not only build external success, but also builds internal nobility. To give up something valuable for the sake of others or for a higher calling requires strength of character, and it is this strength that sets people apart. The nature of sacrifice also reveals another truth. Greatness requires delayed gratification. Ordinary people often seek quick rewards, immediate pleasure, and effortless success. But those destined for greatness are willing to wait. They understand that lasting achievement requires patience and endurance. An aspiring writer who sacrifices sleep to finish drafts, a medical student who sacrifices leisure for years of study, or an entrepreneur who sacrifices financial security to build a business. All of them embody this principle. Their willingness to endure temporary hardship for future success is what propels them beyond the ordinary. Sacrifice teaches discipline, and discipline is the backbone of all true greatness. At the same time, sacrifice requires vision. People cannot willingly give up something valuable unless they believe in something greater. Ordinary individuals often lack this vision, seeing only what lies immediately in front of them. But those who achieve greatness can see beyond the present moment to a future that justifies their sacrifice. Nelson Mandela could endure 27 years in prison because he held a vision of a free South Africa. Athletes endure grueling training because they see the possibility of victory. Parents make sacrifices because they see the future success of their children. Vision fuels sacrifice, and sacrifice builds greatness. It is also true that sacrifice is not always external. Sometimes the sacrifices that separate the ordinary from the great are internal, giving up ego, selfishness, or fear. A leader who sacrifices personal pride to listen to others grows into a great leader, while an ordinary one clings to ego and stagnates. An artist who sacrifices the fear of failure to risk new expression achieves greatness, while ordinary ones remain stuck in safe repetition. Sacrifice in this sense is about transformation of character as much as about external acts. It demands courage to let go of comfort zones, of selfishness, of pride, and of fear, so that something greater can emerge. However, sacrifice does not mean suffering for its own sake. It is not about needless deprivation, but about strategic choices that prioritize higher values over lower ones. Those who confuse sacrifice with meaningless hardship miss the point. Sacrifice that builds greatness is purposeful, directed toward an ideal, a dream, or a cause. It is what separates a life lived aimlessly from a life lived with intention. The ordinary often drift without such intentional sacrifice, but the great live deliberately, choosing what to give up in order to build what they value most. Sacrifice also brings with it a paradox. Those who give up much often gain more than they lose. The athlete who sacrifices comfort gains glory and health. The scholar who sacrifices leisure gains knowledge and wisdom. The parent who sacrifices personal ambitions gains the joy of seeing their children thrive. While sacrifice seems like loss, it is often the very path to deeper fulfillment. The ordinary avoid sacrifice to keep what they have, but in doing so they remain limited. The great embrace sacrifice, and in losing some things, they gain what the ordinary can never reach. This principle applies even to moral greatness. Ordinary life often seeks convenience, but those who make moral sacrifices, giving up selfish advantages, refusing corruption, or standing for justice, even when it is costly, rise into greatness of character. History reveres not those who pursued ease, but those who sacrificed personal gain for integrity. Such sacrifices may not always bring fame or external success, but they mark the difference between a small life and a great one. In reflecting on the truth that sacrifice separates the ordinary from the great, it becomes clear that greatness is not reserved for a chosen few. It is available to anyone willing to pay the price. Every person faces moments of choice, to cling to comfort or to give it up for something higher. In those choices, character is tested and destiny is shaped. Those who avoid sacrifice remain ordinary, living within the narrow limits of convenience. Those who embrace sacrifice rise above, achieving not only personal success but also respect, legacy, and the fulfillment of a life well lived. Ultimately, greatness is not simply a matter of talent, luck, or opportunity. Talent without sacrifice leads to wasted potential. Luck without sacrifice leads to fleeting success. And opportunity without sacrifice leads to disappointment. Only sacrifice transforms talent into mastery, luck into lasting achievement, and opportunity into legacy. Sacrifice is the crucible in which greatness is forged, the fire that tempers ambition into accomplishment. In every story of human achievement, sacrifice stands as the silent force behind the triumph. It is the invisible bridge between what is and what could be. The ordinary shrink from this bridge because it seems too hard, too uncertain, too costly. But the great step onto it with courage, knowing that only by walking across sacrifice can they reach the other side where greatness lies. In the end, what separates the ordinary from the great is not dreams, not talent, not even opportunity. It is the willingness to sacrifice. Those who embrace it transcend the ordinary and become the truly great. Pain is often seen as something negative, something to be avoided at all costs. Human beings naturally crave comfort, safety, and happiness, and they instinctively run from experiences that bring discomfort or suffering. Yet despite this tendency, pain remains an unavoidable part of life. No person, regardless of wealth, power, or privilege, can escape it. Whether it comes in the form of physical illness, emotional heartbreak, failure, loss, or disappointment, pain eventually touches everyone. While it may seem cruel and unwanted, pain has a hidden role in shaping human character and understanding. It is, in many ways, a teacher, often a harsh and uninvited one, but one whose lessons are profound and lasting. Pain teaches resilience, empathy, humility, gratitude, endurance, and wisdom in ways no book, classroom, or lecture ever can. One of the first lessons pain teaches is the reality of human limits. In times of health and comfort, people often feel invincible, as though nothing can break them. Pain shatters that illusion. The sting of failure after hard work, the ache of losing a loved one, or the exhaustion of illness reveals that human beings are vulnerable. This awareness may feel discouraging at first, but it is also deeply instructive. By recognizing limits, people learn humility and patience. They realize that life is fragile, and that it must be lived carefully and intentionally. Pain becomes a teacher by pulling away arrogance and replacing it with a clearer understanding of what it means to be human. Another lesson pain teaches is resilience. Without adversity, people never discover the depth of their strength. A person who has never stumbled cannot know how it feels to rise again, but one who has fallen learns the power of persistence. Pain forces people to stretch beyond what they believed they could endure. Students who fail exams learn that failure is not the end, but an opportunity to study harder. Athletes who lose competitions discover the value of training with greater intensity. Survivors of personal tragedy often emerge with a deeper strength than they imagined possible. Pain is like a stern teacher who tests students with difficult lessons, not to break them, but to reveal their hidden resilience. Pain also teaches empathy. Someone who has never experienced suffering may struggle to truly understand the struggles of others. But once they themselves endure pain, their heart softens. The loneliness of rejection, the grief of loss, or the frustration of failure can open their eyes to the silent battles others face. A person who has been heartbroken learns to comfort others with greater tenderness. A person who has lived through poverty becomes more generous. Pain teaches empathy by making abstract ideas of suffering into lived experiences. It reminds people that kindness is not optional but necessary because everyone carries hidden wounds. In this way, pain teaches the lesson of compassion more effectively than any moral lecture ever could. Pain is also a teacher of gratitude. When life is smooth and easy, people often take blessings for granted. Health, family, friends, and opportunities may seem ordinary, not worthy of special appreciation, but pain strips away this complacency. An illness teaches the value of health. Losing someone teaches the value of love and presence. Failure teaches the value of even small successes. Through suffering, people learn to cherish the moments of peace and joy that once seemed so ordinary. Pain teaches gratitude by showing the contrast between loss and possession, reminding people to hold their blessings with care. Those who have endured hardship often smile more genuinely at simple joys, because pain has taught them their worth. Another lesson pain teaches is endurance. In an age where immediate results and instant gratification dominate, endurance is often overlooked. Yet pain insists on patience. A broken bone does not heal in a day, nor does a broken heart. Success after repeated failure comes only with time and perseverance. Pain teaches people to wait, to endure discomfort, and to remain steadfast even when progress is invisible. This endurance shapes character, making individuals more determined, disciplined, and capable of facing future trials. Without pain, endurance would remain an abstract virtue. Through pain, it becomes a lived strength. Pain also teaches perspective. People often measure their struggles as unbearable until they encounter greater suffering. A person may complain about work stress until they meet someone unemployed. A student may lament a poor grade until they meet someone who never had access to education. Pain puts personal struggles in context, teaching that suffering is relative and that many burdens, while heavy, could be far worse. This perspective breeds humility and balance, preventing people from drowning in self-pity. Pain teaches that while everyone suffers, there is always something to be grateful for, and there is always someone carrying a heavier load. Furthermore, pain teaches the importance of change and growth. People naturally resist change, preferring routines and comfort zones. Yet pain often signals that something must shift. A toxic relationship becomes unbearable until it forces someone to leave. A career that brings only frustration pushes someone to seek new opportunities. Emotional pain drives introspection, leading to self-improvement. Pain teaches that stagnation is not sustainable. It insists on growth. The discomfort pushes people out of complacency and into transformation, just as pressure transforms coal into diamond. Without pain, many would never find the courage to change or the wisdom to improve. Pain also teaches acceptance. Not every wound heals, not every loss is regained, and not every struggle ends in victory. This truth can be hard to face, but pain teaches people to live with it. Acceptance does not mean giving up, but rather making peace with reality. It teaches the wisdom of letting go, of releasing what cannot be controlled, and of finding strength in moving forward. Pain teaches that control is limited, but dignity can still be preserved through acceptance. Those who learn this lesson become calmer, less bitter, and more at peace with life's unpredictability. Pain, however, teaches not only through suffering, but also through the meaning drawn from it. The lesson is not in the pain itself, but in the response. Two people may endure the same hardship, but one may grow bitter while the other grows wiser. Pain offers the material for growth, but it is the student who must choose to learn. This, too, is part of its teaching, the reminder that choice matters. People cannot always avoid pain, but they can decide whether to let it break them or build them. In this way, pain teaches responsibility for one's own growth. Examples from real life highlight these lessons vividly. Survivors of wars often emerge with profound appreciation for peace. People who recover from illness often dedicate themselves to helping others heal. Inventors and leaders often recall their failures as the most important lessons in their journey. Ordinary individuals, too, learn from pain. Parents raising children despite hardship, workers persevering through challenges, and students enduring struggles to achieve education. These stories, large and small, illustrate that pain's role as a teacher is universal, shaping people across all walks of life. Ultimately, pain teaches the most important lesson of all, that life is not defined by comfort alone, but by growth, meaning, and character. Comfort can make people passive, but pain pushes them to reflect, adapt, and evolve. It teaches strength through weakness, joy through sorrow, and hope through despair. Though no one welcomes it, those who learn from it emerge wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. Pain is a teacher that does not use gentle words but sharp lessons, and though its classroom is difficult, its teachings are unforgettable. In the end, while people may despise pain, they often look back on painful moments as the times of greatest learning. It is through suffering that individuals discover their resilience, their empathy, their gratitude, and their purpose. Pain is a teacher that visits every life, uninvited but unavoidable, and though its lessons are harsh, they are the very lessons that allow people to grow into their fullest selves. Without pain, humanity would remain shallow, fragile, and untested. With pain, it learns to endure, to love, to change, and ultimately, to live more deeply. Pain, in its silent and relentless way, is one of life's greatest teachers. Life is full of choices, and each choice carries with it consequences that shape the future. Many of the most significant decisions people make revolve around whether to seek comfort now or to endure temporary struggle for a greater reward later. The phrase, short-term pain, long-term glory, captures this timeless truth with elegant simplicity. It reflects the reality that the most rewarding achievements and the most meaningful successes often demand sacrifice, discipline, and discomfort in the present, but in exchange they bring lasting satisfaction, honor, and fulfillment. This principle can be seen in every field of life: education, career, sports, relationships, and personal growth. Those who are willing to endure short-term pain whether it is physical, mental, or emotional, often reap the reward of long-term glory, while those who avoid hardship for immediate comfort usually remain ordinary, never reaching the heights they dreamed of. One of the clearest examples of short-term pain leading to long-term glory is in the realm of education. Students often complain about the heavy burden of study, late night preparation, and countless hours spent with books instead of friends. It is undeniably painful to sit through difficult lessons, to resist the lure of entertainment, and to pour energy into preparation. Yet those who endure this temporary pain eventually enjoy the long-term glory of knowledge, achievement, and opportunity. Their years of sacrifice open doors to careers, stability, and respect. In contrast, those who avoid the pain of study in favor of ease often struggle later, regretting the opportunities they let slip. The glory of success, respect, and fulfillment is built on the pain of discipline, showing that temporary discomfort is a small price for lasting reward. Sports offer another vivid picture of this principle. Athletes spend years training their bodies, pushing themselves to exhaustion, sacrificing leisure and comfort, and enduring strict routines. The training process often involves pain-sore muscles, strict diets, grueling practices, and constant challenges. Yet when they finally stand on the podium, medal in hand, or when they set a record that will be remembered for years, the glory makes the pain worthwhile. The world applauds the victory, but few see the sacrifices behind it. Short-term pain, whether it is a 5 a.m. workout or endless drills, transforms into long-term glory in the form of achievements that inspire generations. The pain fades, but the glory remains etched in history. The principle applies equally to personal growth and self-discipline. Consider the person who chooses to save money rather than spend it impulsively. In the short term, they experience the pain of denying themselves pleasures that others enjoy freely. They may drive an old car, live modestly, or skip luxuries. Yet over time, their financial discipline gives them long-term glory in the form of stability, freedom, and the ability to achieve bigger dreams. On the other hand, those who chase instant gratification often find themselves burdened with regret, debt, and missed opportunities. In the same way, someone who prioritizes health by enduring the short-term pain of exercise, diet, or medical treatment often reaps the long-term glory of vitality and longevity, while those who avoid the discomfort may face the lasting suffering of poor health. The principle is clear. The willingness to suffer briefly for the sake of a higher goal leads to rewards that last far longer than the pain ever did. Short-term pain also plays a role in relationships. Real connections require effort, compromise, and sacrifice. There are moments of misunderstanding, patience, and even heartache. Choosing to work through challenges in a marriage or friendship, enduring the pain of honest conversations and the discomfort of forgiveness, often leads to long-term glory in the form of lasting love, trust, and companionship. Those who avoid conflict altogether, or who walk away at the first sign of struggle, may experience temporary relief but often miss the deeper glory of meaningful bonds. The willingness to face emotional pain for the sake of preserving a relationship demonstrates that true glory is not in avoiding suffering, but in enduring it for something greater. History is full of figures whose legacies prove this truth. Nelson Mandela endured 27 years of imprisonment, facing isolation, pain, and suffering. Yet his short-term pain, though long in years, was temporary in comparison to the lasting glory of seeing his nation free from apartheid and being remembered as a global symbol of justice and reconciliation. Similarly, scientists like Galileo suffered ridicule and persecution for their discoveries, yet today they are celebrated for changing humanity's understanding of the universe. Their pain was real and heavy in their own time, but their glory has outlived them by centuries. The lesson is universal. Greatness rarely comes without struggle, and the pain endured for a noble cause eventually transforms into glory that transcends time. Even in spiritual and philosophical traditions, this principle is deeply ingrained. Many religious and cultural teachings emphasize the value of sacrifice, fasting, self-control, and endurance. The idea is always the same. Short-term discomfort purifies the spirit, disciplines the body, and strengthens the soul, while the reward is a lasting sense of peace, wisdom, or eternal glory. Pain here is not meaningless suffering, but a teacher, guiding people toward higher values. Long-term glory in this context is not only external success, but also internal transformation and enlightenment. It is important to note that the phrase short-term pain, long-term glory does not suggest that pain itself is inherently good, but rather that the willingness to endure pain in pursuit of something greater is what brings growth. It teaches that comfort is often the enemy of progress. Those who always choose the easy road may avoid discomfort for a while, but they also avoid growth, achievement, and lasting fulfillment. Pain becomes meaningful when it is tied to purpose, when it is endured with the vision of a higher goal. The student's sleepless nights, the athlete's aching muscles, the entrepreneur's endless struggles, all become stepping stones to glory when they are part of a journey toward greatness. Another valuable lesson in this principle is the perspective it brings on time. Pain always feels long when experienced in the moment, but when viewed from the vantage point of success, it appears brief. A few years of struggle in school become small compared to decades of a successful career. Months of training seem minor compared to the lifetime pride of an Olympic medal. Hours of effort poured into creating art or innovation are forgotten once the masterpiece is complete. Glory lasts longer than pain, and it often shines brighter precisely because of the struggle that preceded it. Those who keep this perspective are better equipped to endure short-term pain, knowing that glory waits on the other side. However, this principle also carries a warning. Without pain, glory often loses meaning. If something is gained easily, it rarely feels valuable. The weight of glory comes from the struggle behind it. The pain endured makes the victory sweeter, the success more meaningful, and the memory more lasting. A mountain climbed without effort offers no thrill, but one conquered through blood, sweat, and tears becomes a lifelong triumph. The connection between short-term pain and long-term glory is not accidental. It is what gives glory its depth and significance. In everyday life, this truth can be a guiding principle for anyone seeking to rise above mediocrity. It encourages patience, resilience, and vision. It reminds people that temporary hardship should not be feared but embraced as part of the journey. When someone feels the weight of sacrifice or the sting of failure, they can find strength in the knowledge that these are not the end of the story, but the necessary cost of future triumph. Each struggle becomes an investment in long-term glory, and each sacrifice brings them closer to a destiny worth achieving. Ultimately, life is a series of choices between short-term comfort and long-term reward. The ordinary often choose comfort, but the extraordinary embrace pain for the sake of glory. The student bent over books, the athlete on the track before sunrise, the artist wrestling with their canvas, the leader standing firm in the face of opposition, all know the truth of this principle. Short-term pain is temporary, it fades with time. Long-term glory, however, endures, shaping identity, inspiring others, and leaving a legacy that outlives the moment. The glory makes the pain not only bearable, but worthwhile. The phrase short-term pain, long-term glory is not simply motivational, it is a blueprint for life. It reminds us that the road to greatness is not paved with ease, but with struggle, sacrifice, and perseverance. While pain may be sharp in the present, its lessons and rewards stretch far into the future. Those who embrace it walk the path of greatness, while those who avoid it remain trapped in mediocrity. In the end, the pain is fleeting, but the glory is eternal. Pain is an unavoidable companion of life. Whether it arrives through physical hardship, emotional heartbreak, personal failure, or unexpected loss, every person will at some point encounter suffering that challenges their spirit. Yet pain is not only a source of discomfort, it is also a powerful test of mentality. How people think, how they perceive the world, and how they respond to adversity are revealed most clearly when they face pain. In moments of ease, it is easy to appear strong, optimistic, and composed. But in times of struggle, the true strength of one's mentality comes to light. Pain acts as a mirror that reflects the resilience, discipline, and outlook hidden beneath the surface. It becomes the arena where mentality is tested, strengthened, or sometimes broken, and the way individuals respond to pain often determines the quality of their lives and the heights they can achieve. Pain tests mentality first by forcing individuals to confront their resilience. Resilience is not built when life is comfortable. It is forged in moments of difficulty. When setbacks strike, such as failing an exam, losing a job, or facing rejection, people are confronted with two choices: to give up or to press on. This decision is not about the external situation, but about the inner mentality. Those with weak mentalities may allow pain to defeat them, believing the struggle is too hard or that they are not capable. Those with stronger mentalities learn to use pain as fuel, letting it sharpen their determination and strengthen their will. In this way, pain becomes a true test, distinguishing between those who surrender easily and those who rise with courage. The mentality that survives pain grows stronger, while the one that crumbles reveals its fragility. Another way pain tests mentality is by challenging patience and endurance. Many people today live in a culture of instant gratification, where quick results and immediate rewards are valued. But pain does not follow such timelines. Healing from illness takes time, recovering from heartbreak requires patience, and building success after failure demands endurance. Pain tests whether the mind can endure prolonged discomfort without losing hope. A patient mentality sees beyond the present suffering, recognizing that endurance is part of the journey toward growth. An impatient mentality, on the other hand, may become restless, bitter, or hopeless. This contrast shows how pain exposes the quality of one's inner discipline. Those who develop the ability to endure pain with patience often find themselves more capable of handling future challenges with grace. Pain also tests mentality by questioning one's perspective on life. When faced with suffering, some people focus only on the negative, asking "why me?" and sinking into despair. Others, however, choose to search for meaning, lessons, and even opportunities hidden in the hardship. For example, someone who fails at a task may see it as proof of inadequacy, while another sees it as a lesson in growth. Someone who experiences loss may view it as an end, while another may see it as a reminder to cherish loved ones more deeply. This difference lies not in the pain itself, but in the mentality used to interpret it. Pain tests whether a person will allow negativity to dominate their thinking, or whether they will cultivate a mentality that seeks light even in dark places. In this way, pain becomes a filter that separates destructive thoughts from constructive ones, shaping outlook and character. Mental toughness is another quality pain measures. Toughness is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to stay composed and focused despite emotional turmoil. Painful situations such as betrayal, humiliation, or rejection strike at the heart of human pride and self-worth. In such moments, mentality is tested not just in strength, but in stability. Can the mind remain calm under pressure? Can it hold on to self-belief when external validation is absent? Pain provides the ultimate test of toughness, revealing whether someone's confidence is shallow, based only on good circumstances, or deep, rooted in unshakable self-understanding. Those who cultivate mental toughness often emerge from painful experiences stronger and more determined, while those without it may crumble under the weight of hardship. Pain also examines mentality through its impact on focus and self-control. In moments of suffering, it is easy for the mind to scatter into fear, anger, or despair. Pain tempts people to make rash decisions, to quit prematurely, or to lash out. The test of mentality lies in whether one can remain disciplined despite discomfort. A student, enduring the pain of rigorous study, must resist distractions. An athlete pushing through exhaustion must stay committed. A person facing grief must choose not to drown in destructive habits. Pain tests whether the mentality can maintain focus on long-term goals and values even when short-term emotions scream for relief. The ability to control one's response in the face of pain is one of the clearest markers of a strong mentality. Moreover, pain tests mentality by revealing one's relationship with fear. Pain and fear are closely linked. The anticipation of suffering often frightens people as much as the suffering itself. When facing challenges, fear whispers doubts. What if I fail? What if I cannot endure? What if this never ends? Pain tests whether the mentality will be paralyzed by fear or strengthened by courage. Some choose to retreat, avoiding risks to escape potential pain, but in doing so, they miss opportunities for growth. Others face pain directly, using courage to silence fear, and in the process they expand their mental boundaries. The test is not about eliminating fear, but about proving whether one's mentality can act in spite of it. Empathy and compassion also undergo testing through pain. While suffering is deeply personal, it often awakens awareness of others' struggles. A mentality hardened by selfishness may turn inward, becoming bitter and closed off. A mentality open to growth, however, uses personal pain as a bridge to understand others more deeply. For instance, someone who has endured poverty may develop compassion for others in need. Someone who has experienced rejection may become more kind to those who feel unseen. Pain tests whether mentality will shrink into isolation or expand into empathy. This test determines not only personal growth, but also the ability to contribute positively to society. Pain also tests mentality by asking whether people can find purpose in suffering. Some individuals collapse under the weight of pain because they see it as meaningless. Others survive and even thrive because they connect their pain to a larger purpose. A parent working long hours to support a family endures pain, but finds strength in the vision of their children's future. A patient undergoing difficult treatment may endure suffering because they hold on to hope of recovery. A leader fighting for justice may accept pain because they believe in the cause. Pain tests whether the mentality can anchor itself in purpose, turning suffering into a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. History offers many examples of this principle in action. Nelson Mandela's mentality was tested during his long imprisonment, yet he emerged not broken but stronger, guided by a vision of freedom for his people. Helen Keller, despite her physical limitations, endured immense pain but developed a mentality that transformed her into a symbol of resilience and hope. Ordinary individuals, too, live this truth. The single mother who endures daily struggles to raise her children, the student who perseveres through failure to achieve education, the worker who sacrifices comfort to build a better life. Each demonstrates that pain does not merely arrive as suffering, but as a test of mentality, and passing that test leads to personal greatness. Ultimately, pain teaches that mentality is the true measure of strength. Muscles can weaken, possessions can disappear, and circumstances can change, but mentality remains the foundation on which responses are built. Pain tests this foundation by applying pressure. If it is weak, cracks appear. If it is strong, it endures and even becomes stronger under strain. The test of mentality that pain provides is therefore not something to fear but something to embrace. It reveals weaknesses that can be strengthened and strengths that can be celebrated. In the end, the role of pain is not to destroy but to test, refine, and strengthen mentality. It forces people to confront their resilience, patience, perspective, toughness, focus, courage, empathy, and sense of purpose. Though no one welcomes pain, those who learn to endure it with a strong mentality find themselves transformed. Pain tests the mind, and through this test, individuals discover who they truly are. Those who pass the test emerge not only stronger, but also wiser, more compassionate, and more prepared to face the future. Pain, therefore, is not merely an obstacle, but a necessary trial through which mentality is proven, and it is in passing this test that the deepest strength of the human spirit is revealed. Doubt is one of the most persistent companions of human ambition. Whenever someone sets out to achieve something meaningful, doubt creeps in. It asks questions like, what if I fail? What if I am not good enough? Or what if all of this effort is wasted? Doubt can paralyze, leaving people stranded between desire and action. Yet when paired with pain, doubt takes on a different shape. Pain strips away illusions, confronts individuals with harsh realities, and forces them to dig deeper into themselves. While doubt alone may weaken the spirit, pain can transform that very doubt into fuel for persistence, growth, and eventual success. Pain has a way of silencing excuses, sharpening focus, and awakening strength that doubt tries to bury. In this sense, pain does not merely coexist with doubt. It reshapes it into a driving force that propels individuals forward. When people encounter failure, the sting of pain often cuts deeply. A failed exam, a lost competition, a broken relationship, or a rejected dream can fill the heart with doubt. In such moments, the easiest option is to quit, to let doubt convince the mind that the goal is unreachable. But the pain of failure can also ignite a different response. Rather than accepting doubt's verdict, some people choose to let the discomfort of failure push them to work harder, train longer, or study more diligently. The pain of falling short becomes a fire that consumes hesitation. Doubt whispers, "You cannot," but pain shouts, "Prove it wrong." The sharpness of pain forces a decision, surrender, or fight back. Those who decide to fight discover that pain can transform doubt into the very energy they need to persist. Pain also teaches humility, and humility transforms doubt into a guide. When people first set out on a journey, they often carry confidence, even overconfidence. Failure and pain shatter that confidence, replacing it with uncertainty. Yet this uncertainty is not necessarily destructive. It invites reflection. What do I need to change? How can I grow stronger? Pain turns doubt from a paralyzing voice into a constructive one, showing weaknesses that must be addressed. A runner who loses a race may doubt their ability, but the pain of losing pushes them to train harder. A student who fails may question their intelligence, but the pain of failure encourages them to adjust study habits and develop discipline. Doubt, in this sense, becomes a compass, pointing toward the areas where improvement is needed. Pain sharpens the lesson and provides the energy to act on it. In many cases, pain is the spark that ignites transformation. Without pain, doubt often lingers passively, gnawing at the mind but never producing action. Pain changes this dynamic by making inaction unbearable. Consider someone stuck in an unfulfilling job. Doubt about their abilities or prospects may keep them from seeking change. But when the pain of dissatisfaction becomes too great, it pushes them to overcome doubt, take risks, and pursue a different path. The discomfort fuels courage. Similarly, athletes and artists frequently speak of moments when the pain of defeat or rejection forced them to reassess their goals and redouble their efforts. Pain makes complacency intolerable, turning doubt into a challenge rather than a barrier. Another way pain turns doubt into fuel is by revealing resilience. Often, people underestimate their own strength until they are forced to test it. Doubt convinces them they are too weak, too unprepared, or too fragile. Pain, however, forces them into situations where they must endure. Every time they survive pain, their mentality shifts. If I can endure this, then perhaps I can endure more. This experience begins to erode doubt and replace it with confidence. But not the shallow confidence of arrogance, the deep confidence born of survival. For instance, someone who overcomes the pain of repeated rejection in job interviews eventually builds a resilience that doubt cannot easily shake. The very pain that once fed their doubt now becomes proof of their strength. Doubt is transformed into motivation. If I endured before, I can endure again. Pain also tests priorities and provides clarity, which in turn transforms doubt into determination. Doubt often arises from uncertainty about whether a goal is worth the effort. Pain strips away this uncertainty by demanding a decision. If the goal is not truly important, the pain of pursuing it may convince someone to give up. But if the goal is deeply meaningful, the pain endured only reinforces its value. For example, a parent may doubt their ability to provide for their family, but the pain of sacrifice makes the purpose clear. The children's well-being is worth every hardship. That clarity turns doubt into drive. Instead of asking, "Can I do this?" the mind begins to say, "I must do this." Pain transforms hesitation into resolve by showing that some goals are worth every ounce of struggle. History is filled with examples of people who turned doubt into fuel through pain. Thomas Edison famously faced thousands of failed experiments before perfecting the light bulb. Doubt must have haunted him repeatedly, yet the pain of failure drove him to keep trying. Helen Keller, deprived of sight and hearing, endured unimaginable frustration and doubt about her ability to communicate, yet her pain fueled her determination to learn, and she became inspiration to millions. Nelson Mandela endured decades of imprisonment, during which doubt could easily have consumed him, but the pain of injustice turned into fuel for his unshakable resolve to fight for freedom. Their stories prove that greatness is not achieved in the absence of doubt, but in the ability to turn doubt into energy, and pain is the force that makes this transformation possible. Even in everyday life, this principle is visible. A student struggling with self-doubt can use the pain of a poor grade to work harder and eventually excel. An athlete doubting their abilities can let the sting of defeat push them into greater discipline. An entrepreneur who faces failure after failure can allow the pain of loss to become the fuel for innovation. In each case, the pattern is the same. Pain converts doubt from a crippling weight into a source of power. There is also a psychological truth behind this transformation. Pain activates emotional energy, which, if left unmanaged, can lead to despair. But when channeled properly, that same energy becomes motivation. Anger at failure, frustration with limitations, or sadness from loss can all be redirected into determination. The key lies in mentality. Pain alone does not guarantee growth. It is the decision to use pain as fuel that turns doubt into progress. People who adopt this mindset stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as power. Every hurt becomes a reminder of what they are fighting for. Every doubt becomes a challenge to overcome, and every setback becomes the energy for a stronger comeback. It is also important to recognize that doubt never disappears completely, even in the strongest individuals. The difference lies in how it is used. Ordinary people let doubt hold them back, while extraordinary people let pain reshape doubt into fuel. The athlete on the starting line, the artist facing a blank canvas, the leader confronting immense opposition, all feel doubt. But when they recall the pain they have endured, that memory fuels them to push through. Pain becomes evidence that they have survived before and can survive again. Doubt becomes not an obstacle, but a spark, ignited by the memory of pain, that drives them to greater heights. Ultimately, the relationship between pain and doubt is one of transformation. Doubt on its own weakens resolve, but when combined with pain, it can be turned into determination. Pain tests, refines, and strengthens mentality. It forces choices, reveals resilience, clarifies purpose, and ignites energy. Pain does not erase doubt, but it changes its role from a voice of defeat into a source of drive. The greatest victories in history and the quiet triumphs of ordinary people are proof that pain is not only something to be endured, but also something that can be harnessed. It turns doubt, the voice that says you cannot, into fuel that whispers back, "Watch me." In the end, no one escapes doubt, and no one escapes pain. But those who learn to transform pain into fuel discover that doubt need not be an enemy. Instead, it becomes a companion on the road to achievement, constantly testing but never conquering. Pain gives doubt a new role, turning hesitation into determination and weakness into strength. Through this transformation, pain becomes not just a source of suffering but a source of power. And it is in this alchemy that ordinary lives are shaped into extraordinary ones. Greatness is often misunderstood as a purely personal achievement, measured by the wealth one acquires, the titles one earns, or the recognition one receives in their lifetime. Many people chase greatness with the intention of proving themselves, of building a reputation that sets them apart from the crowd. Yet true greatness does not end when the applause fades, or when one's personal comfort is secured. True greatness extends beyond the individual, touching lives, inspiring generations, and creating ripples that outlast the person who began them. Greatness lives beyond you. It is measured not only by what you accomplish for yourself, but by the impact you leave behind for others. It is the legacy that continues to grow even when you are no longer present. When we examine the lives of the greatest figures in history, one pattern is clear. Their greatness was never confined to personal success. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela did not achieve greatness merely because of their courage or discipline. They achieved greatness because their actions transformed the lives of millions. The true measure of their achievements lies in how their work continued after their deaths, inspiring movements, shaping nations, and influencing the moral compass of humanity. Their greatness was not self-contained, it lived beyond them. The same is true of artists like Leonardo da Vinci or composers like Beethoven, whose creations continue to enrich lives centuries later. The lives of such individuals remind us that greatness is not about how brightly one shines for oneself, but how much light one leaves behind for others. The idea that greatness lives beyond you also challenges the narrow definition of success. Many people focus only on material accomplishments, believing greatness lies in building wealth, owning property, or securing personal accolades. But such achievements, while significant in their own right, are temporary. Wealth can be lost, trophies gather dust, and reputations fade with time. What endures is the positive influence one has on others, the lessons taught, the kindness shared, the opportunities created, and the inspiration given. A teacher who inspires generations of students may never appear in history books, but their greatness lives on through the lives those students build. A parent who sacrifices for their children may never receive public praise, but their greatness lives beyond them in the character and achievements of those they raised. Greatness is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet, humble, and deeply woven into the lives of others. Pain and struggle often play a role in shaping greatness that extends beyond the individual. Those who suffer and endure often leave behind examples of resilience that inspire others. A survivor of hardship who refuses to give up provides hope to countless people who may never know them personally but find strength in their story. Consider the countless unnamed heroes in communities who, through their perseverance, build schools, feed the hungry, or fight for justice in small but impactful ways. Their greatness is not measured by fame, but by the legacy of hope, courage, and compassion they leave behind. In this sense, greatness is not something one holds, but something one passes on. The concept of greatness living beyond you also reveals itself in the way ideas and values are transmitted. Words, beliefs, and principles often outlive the person who first spoke them. Philosophers, thinkers, and spiritual leaders have long understood this truth. Socrates never wrote a single book, yet his ideas live on through the works of his students, shaping the foundation of Western philosophy. Religious and spiritual figures like the Buddha, Jesus, or Prophet Muhammad left teachings that continue to guide billions of people centuries later. Their personal lives ended, but the greatness of their ideas continues to shape human behavior, ethics, and purpose. This shows that greatness is not limited by lifespan. It flows forward, carried by others, multiplied by the generations that inherit it. Even in the modern world, greatness that lives beyond the individual can be seen in innovation and science. The discoveries of people like Marie Curie, Nikola Tesla, or Albert Einstein were not confined to their lifetimes. Their work continues to fuel advancements, inspire scientists, and improve lives long after they are gone. Every modern technology, every medical advancement, every scientific breakthrough builds upon the foundation laid by those who came before. Their greatness is alive in every invention and every life saved or transformed because of their contributions. In this way, greatness is not a monument to the self, but a gift to the future. The idea that greatness lives beyond you also calls attention to responsibility. If our lives are measured not just by what we achieve for ourselves, but by what we leave behind, then we must think about the kind of impact we are creating. Are we inspiring others or discouraging them? Are we leaving behind division or unity, destruction or growth, selfishness or generosity? Greatness is not neutral. It is built through choices that shape how others will live after us. A person who hoards wealth may achieve personal comfort, but leaves behind little of lasting value. A person who shares, teaches, mentors, and uplifts creates a legacy that multiplies across generations. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every effort to build something meaningful contributes to greatness that will live beyond us. It is also important to recognize that greatness is not reserved only for those with extraordinary gifts or platforms. Every day, people create greatness that lives beyond them through the lives they touch. A nurse who comforts patients, a friend who listens during hard times, a stranger who helps someone in need, all create ripples of impact that extend far beyond their immediate lives. The person comforted may go on to comfort others. The kindness shown may inspire kindness in someone else. Greatness, in this sense, is contagious, living on in the chain of good actions it inspires. No one is too small or too ordinary to leave behind greatness. What matters is intention, effort, and the willingness to contribute positively to the lives of others. Greatness living beyond oneself also changes the way we see mortality. Physical life is temporary, but the impact we create can outlive us. Knowing this gives life deeper meaning. Instead of living only for personal gain, we can live with the purpose of building something larger than ourselves, whether that is a family, a community, a movement, or an idea. Death may end physical existence, but it cannot erase the influence of a life lived with purpose. The stories we leave behind, the lessons we impart, the love we share, and the courage we demonstrate continue to live in the hearts and actions of those who remain. In this way, greatness offers a kind of immortality, not of the body but of the spirit and influence. Furthermore, when greatness is understood as something that lives beyond you, it eliminates the ego-driven race for recognition. True greatness does not demand applause or trophies, because its value lies in what it gives, not in what it receives. The teacher does not need fame for their students to succeed. The parent does not need a statue to know their children carry their values forward. The inventor does not need personal glory for their work to improve lives. When we see greatness as something larger than ourselves, we shift from seeking validation to seeking contribution. This shift not only makes life more meaningful, but also ensures that our actions plant seeds that will continue to grow long after we are gone. In the end, greatness is not a possession to be held tightly, but a legacy to be shared freely. It is not about how much we accumulate for ourselves, but about how much we give to others. It is not about how brightly we shine in our lifetime, but about how much light we leave behind to guide those who come after us. Greatness lives beyond you because it is carried forward in the lives you touch, the values you uphold, the love you share, and the inspiration you spark. It is alive in the lessons your children remember, in the kindness a stranger repeats, in the courage your example awakens, and in the dreams others pursue because of your influence. To live with this awareness is to live not just for today, but for tomorrow, not just for oneself, but for humanity. Greatness that lives beyond you is the only greatness that truly lasts. Wealth fades, titles are forgotten, and even names can be erased by time. But the ripples of impact endure, moving outward long after the stone has sunk. That is the essence of greatness, not what you keep, but what you leave.